On the 15th and 17th of November 2008, James Donald and Satoshi Nakamoto exchanged emails. The following is the dialogue of these two emails, starting with James commenting on Satoshi's remark that it's only necessary to keep a pending transaction pool for the current best branch. James replied, quote, "This requires that we know, that is to say, an honest, well-behaved peer, whose communications and data storage is working well, knows what the current best branch is. But of course, the problem is that we are trying to converge upon a best branch, which is not easy at the best of times, and becomes harder when another peer is lying about its connectivity and capabilities, and yet another peer has just had a major disk drive failure obfuscated by a software crash, and the international fibers connecting yet a third peer have been attacked by terrorists." Satoshi replied to this comment by James with, quote,
A node only needs the pending transaction pool for the best branch it has. The branch that it currently thinks is the best branch, that's the branch it'll be trying to make a block out of, which is all it needs the pool for.
James went on to claim that if a different branch becomes longer, this then, quote, presupposes the branches exist, that they are fully specified and complete. If they exist as complete works, rather than works in progress, then the problem is already solved, for the problem is making progress. Also, when it comes to reliability, there is a trade-off between timeliness and reliability. One can make a broadcast arbitrarily reliable if time is of no consequence. However, when one is talking of distributed data, time is always of consequence, because it is all about synchronization, that peers need to have corresponding views at corresponding times. So when one does distributed data processing, broadcasts are always highly unreliable. Attempts to ensure that each message arrives at least once result in increased timing variation. Thus, one has to make a protocol that is either UDP or somewhat UDP-like. In that, messages are small. Failure of messages to arrive is common. Messages can arrive in different order to the order in which they were sent, and the same message may arrive multiple times. Either we have UDP, or we need to accommodate the same problems as UDP has on top of TCP connections. Rather than assuming that each message arrives at least once, we have to make a mechanism such that the information arrives even though conveyed by messages that frequently fail to arrive. Satoshi replied to this with, quote,
I think I've got the peer networking broadcast mechanism covered. Each node sends its neighbors an inventory list of hashes of the new blocks and transactions it has. The neighbors request the items they don't have yet. If the item never comes through after a timeout, they request it from another neighbor that had it. Since all or most of the neighbors should eventually have each item, even if the comms get fumbled up with one, they can get it from any of the others, trying one at a time. The inventory request data scheme introduces a little latency, but it ultimately helps speed more by keeping extra data blocks off the transmit queues and conserving bandwidth.
James continued his email by addressing the claim that TCP transmissions are rarely ever dropped these days. Quote, people always load connections near maximum. When a connection is near maximum, TCP connections suffer frequent, unreasonably long delays, and connections simply fail a lot. Your favorite web cartoon somehow shows it is loading forever, and you try again. Or it comes up with a little X in place of a picture, and you try again. Further, very long connections, for example, FTP downloads of huge files, seldom complete. If you try to FTP a movie, you are unlikely to get anywhere unless both client and server have a resume mechanism so that they can talk about partially downloaded files. UDP connections, for example, Skype video calls. Also suffer frequent picture freezes, loss of quality, and so forth, and have to have mechanisms to keep going regardless. As for your assertion that Bitcoin is very attractive to the libertarian viewpoint, if we can explain it properly. No, it is very attractive to the libertarian if we can design a mechanism that will scale to the point of providing the benefits of rapidly irreversible payment, immune to political interference, over the internet to very large numbers of people. You have an outline and proposal for such a design, which is a big step forward, but the devil is in the little details. I really should provide a fleshed-out version of your proposal, rather than nagging you to fill out the blind spots. Satoshi then finished his reply by saying, quote,
I believe I've worked through all those little details over the last year and a half while coding it, and there were a lot of them. The functional details are not covered in the paper, but the source code is coming soon. I sent you the main files. Available by request at the moment. Full release soon. Satoshi Nakamoto.
Addendum. After Satoshi sent this final public email, the moderator of the cryptography mailing list called for an end to the Bitcoin discussion. Quote, I'd like to call an end to the Bitcoin e-cash discussion for now. A lot of discussion is happening that would be better accomplished by people writing papers at the moment rather than rehashing things back and forth. Maybe later on when Satoshi, or someone else, writes something detailed up and posts it, we could have another round of this. Perry. The cryptography mailing list doesn't hear from Satoshi again until early January 2009, when the Bitcoin network is launched, and he announces version 0.1 of Bitcoin.
If you want to support more of this kind of content, visit shopbitcoin.shop.